Hello everybody, I am Lindsay Brandon from Permaculture Canada, and I'm going to give you some basic tips on Google Earth Pro when starting to search for a new project and work on your design if you're doing digital rendered design, hybrid stuff with your clients around the world. So I'm just showing you, this is the basic Google Earth map that comes up, and depending on how you have it set up, you might just end up having this globe. So I wanted to show you that there's a couple of toolbars that you're going to want to have. The top one here is underneath the view menu is the toolbar, and that will pop up and you'll show all these icons up here, and those can be detailed out in other videos, but just to show you that you're going to need that toolbar. And then also under view, you'll want the sidebar too. This is where we can put in our address for what we're going to search up for our property. This is where we can save the projects that we're working on and recall them. And then there's some alternative layers down here at the bottom where you can add on borders and labels. It can show you like the names of the rivers that are there, and yeah, a whole bunch of selections down there. I don't use that one as much. I'm using Illustrator and Affinity to design, not Google Earth Pro, but some designers just use Google Earth Pro on its own, and it's a standalone software that you can totally do that with. So I'm just going to put in, let's put in Taj Mahal. And it's going to take me there. You can control the speed of that, and there's settings for that. If you really want to get into that sort of thing, you can. But there we go. And there we have Taj Mahal. So a couple things that I just want you to be aware of is when you move things around and you start navigating, you know, maybe you start twisting the map around in all sorts of directions. Sometimes you can get really skewed in terms of like how the camera is looking at something. So if you ever find that it's going off center, you're going to want to use one button on your keyboard, and that is the letter U. So the letter U will take it from, you know, being, if I go all the way in here, see, notice you'll start to see my camera angle is starting to go on an angle there. Now I have different mouse settings in my computer so that I can scroll in and out, zooming with the wheeler roll on the mouse. I highly recommend you do that. You might want to Google that video just for ease of being able to zoom in and out on Google Earth Pro. Sometimes you can just press Control and do the wheel bar as well, and that'll do it. But notice that the angle of my picture has changed. And when we're doing a GIS image, we want to make sure that we're looking straight down onto our property and that we're not on this angle, because if we are on an angle, it's going to change the scale and everything is going to be wonky. So a little trick for that, the keyboard tip is just the letter U, and then it will give you that straight up and down aerial view. Another thing we want to pay attention to is the north aspects or facing for the map, because you don't want to have it slightly off kilter unless you're going to reflect that in your base map. So a quick and easy way to get back to north is just to click the N. Boom. And then it'll take you back to that north arrow. So one of the first things that we do is we go to the top toolbar and we add a place mark. So you're just going to click on that, and this map is going to come up for you. I'm going to call it Taj. And we can also, you know, give these guys their own icons if we want. So if you want to, maybe we want it to look like the sun, we can. We can change the scale of these. We can change the opacity if you don't want it to be bright and showing the way that it does when it does come up on the map. Right in your descriptions in here, you can add web images, all that sorts of stuff. This we can get into in another video. The main things that you want to grab from this place mark is your latitude and longitude. So you're going to grab those numbers right away off the bat. You can put that in your base map description just to locate your building. And I suggest you make sure that the place mark is actually on the structure or the main house or the main building that you're designing your property for. And altitude we can also get into later. So I've given it an icon, I've given it a name. I'm going to say okay. So now we've got Taj Mahal there. It's going to pop up in my places right away. And one thing that we want to make sure is that we drag it. Usually it comes up in your temporary places. You want to make sure you drag it from your temporary places into a folder that you're going to save, or it'll disappear and you won't know how to find it. So I always suggest that, you start putting in a folder, you make a new folder, give it a title. You could do that right here. Just click on that. Taj Mahal gives me a folder for that spot right away. Yeah, that's pretty simple. So that's just the first couple of basics that I want you to know about is these sidebars. You want to make sure that you have the sidebar. You want to make sure you have the toolbar. There's different ways we can look at the property as well. So we can click on this bar here. It says show historical imagery. And when you click on that, it's going to give you this historical bar of every image that has been taken from space of this place. So you can drag it to different seasons. You can see how the forest has changed over time. You could see if it's flooded in the area. You could see development come up, development disappear. You can see the succession of the gardens as they grow. So it's really interesting to see if you want to find out history about the property that you're working on. You can actually take a look in there, and sometimes you can go back and say, oh, look, 20 years ago, there was cattle there. You can make some, educated guesses about how the land might be full of compaction, perhaps, or might have, really high nitrogen content in the soil. So just a couple things to consider there, but you're going to want to choose one of the images that is really nice and easy to see clearly defined outlines where you can implement garden components or your structures. If I have a really busy image, it's going to be difficult to see, but if I can find one that's a little bit streamlined, then you'll be able to overlay your icons over top with too much disturbance. Of course, these older images, as early as you go on this bar, is 1985, you're going to come up with this really super blurry image. So yeah, not the best. You're going to want to get something a little bit later on, a little bit newer in terms of our resolution. And yeah, you can scroll in there. See, this one's even still a little grainy. See how it's come on an angle like that? And I can change it also in my settings so that it doesn't do that. All of these sorts of things you can look into other videos for. But yeah, that's the basics of the toolbar. Making sure that your aspect is north and making sure that you save your folder. Save your pin in a folder in your places on the sidebar. Yeah, so that's all for today. Thanks so much.